Hi, welcome to the Knit2gether Podcast. My name is Julie, and this is my little corner on YouTube where I document my knitting journey. It's been about 2 weeks since I last recorded, so I figured I'd come on and share some updates. So first of all, Happy New Year. This is the first episode of 2023. I hope you were able to take some time to relax, maybe spend some time with your loved ones, and it's a new year, so there are a lot of exciting things to look forward to this year. If this is your first time watching my videos, welcome. I'm like I said earlier, my name is Julie. I'm a knitter based in Pennsylvania in the United States, and I've been knitting for about 2 years now. I learned how to knit when I was a little kid, but didn't really learn much more than the knit stitch. My grandmother taught me. During COVID, during the pandemic lockdowns, I picked up knitting again, and then this year, or not this year, in 2022, I also started learning how to spin. So I have a little bit of that spinning related content to show as well. All right. We'll start with what I'm wearing. It is the very first sweater I ever made. It's very pilly, so please forgive me for that. This is the Flax sweater by Tin Can Knits. I knit it in the fall of 2020. This was the Flax pattern version that didn't have short rows, so the front and back are completely reversible. I learned that has its pros and cons, and I'll get into it a little bit later. The yarn I used for this is Paton's Classic Worsted, I think it's called, which is available, is pretty readily available in the US at stores like Michael's and Joann's. It's a 100% wool, worsted weight wool. It has a lot of plies. It's very nice to work with. It's, like I said, it's readily available and quite inexpensive. So I do enjoy working with it still. You won't find this color at your local Michael's or Joann's though. It is, I dyed it myself using grape Kool-Aid. So you can actually see, hopefully you can see, the top section, like the yoke, and then the rest of it are sort of different color variations. So originally I dyed 100 grams, just 100 grams, on the stove, in my stock pot to try it out. And then when that was mostly successful, I dyed another probably like 400 grams in a crock pot altogether with the same, I use the same like proportions of grape Kool-Aid, but the color saturation is different. So the lot of 400 grams is a lot more variegated. It's a little bit more, the colors are more here and there, whereas the first 100 grams that I dyed is a lot more saturated and even. Supposedly people don't notice this. I notice it a lot, but whatever. It's my first sweater, and I'm very proud of it. The one other thing that I'll mention, I mentioned earlier that it when I knit this flax, there were no instructions for short rows, so the front and back are completely reversible. That bit me in the butt when I took this sweater to go on a hiking trip to Utah and Arizona to go see some of the national parks out there. I wore this as like a mid layer, which worked really, really well, especially when it was like a little bit snowy or cold. The wool, 100% wool, was really temperature regulating. But because it didn't have a front or back, some days like I would reverse it by accident because I didn't know, and the sweat on my back, along with the rubbing from my backpack, caused like considerable felting. So I ended up creating a front and a back, deciding on a front and back. I decided that the side that was more melted, the side that was more matted and felted was the back. So I won't show you now, but the lower back is just, it's you can still see the knit stitches, the stockinette, but it's definitely getting harder to notice. So for all of those reasons, for the color unevenness, the intense matting, it just generally being my first sweater, I love wearing it, but I don't really wear it outside of the house. I will wear it like grocery shopping, but not in polite company. Yeah, oh, and then I guess the last thing, I said the last thing was the last thing, but I'll mention one other thing. Something that, now that I've knit more sweaters, I've come to realize that this wide boat neck isn't really for me. So if I do make more flaxes in the future, I will probably start with a smaller neckline. Since knitting this flax, I've knit 2 more, I think. So I knit one baby flax for a former coworker of mine, and I also knit one for my brother with the same, I think it's the same yarn, and it's yarn that I'll talk about later as well. I omitted the garter panels down the sides. The version that I knit for my brother does have short rows, because it was a little bit later on when Tin Can Knits included short rows in their pattern. All right, so I guess I'll go into sort of what are now my standard topics: finished objects, works in progress, any spinning related content, acquisitions, what I want to work on next, and maybe a tip. I'll confess that I didn't get a ton of knitting done in the last 2 weeks. I think the last time I recorded an episode was my first day of like the holiday vacation. I think I took a day off of work and recorded the video, edited it, and uploaded it. After that, I went on a 10-day vacation to Europe with my family, and it was really, really fun. I have a couple of acquisitions from there, and then I also brought along some projects to work on. Nothing too intense, because I knew I don't get to see my family all the time, and I knew that the places that we were going were places that most of us had never really been to before, so the priority for this trip was not knitting, it was spending time with family and sightseeing. Originally I had wanted to bring along something like socks to work on. I suffer greatly from second sock syndrome and have trouble finishing socks. So I thought it'd be nice to like make a second sock to make some pairs. But I couldn't find my needles, so I didn't end up doing that. Instead, what I planned to make were like double thick hats. So about this time last year, I purchased the Musselburgh hat pattern from Ysolda Teague. The cool thing about the Musselburgh hat is that it is basically a hat recipe and not so much of a hat. I mean, it is a hat pattern, but it's presented in a recipe kind of format. So the hat is double thick, which means you end up knitting this kind of tube-like thing. So it's essentially a stockinette tube that is, curved at either end. And then the beauty of it is that you can tuck the tube inside of itself and you make a double thick hat. You can fold the brim and you end up getting like 4 layers at your ears, which makes it nice and warm. So like I said, I purchased the pattern about a year ago. Wanted to make a hat for my grandpa actually. And the way she writes it is that you start at one end, you cast on a very few stitches, you increase, and you knit a couple inches, because all hats are gonna sort of need to be increased at one end. And then you count your gauge. She presents the recommended like stitch counts and measurements for a variety of gauges, starting from like a fingering weight kind of gauge all the way up to, I would say like DK. They're presented in like 7 stitches per inch, 6.5 stitches per inch, 6 stitches per inch, kind of like that. And also for a variety of hat sizes. So I think it goes from like approximately infant all the way up to adult small through extra large. So my first attempt like a year ago went okay. The fingering weight yarn I used was fine, but it was mostly my fault. The hat was too big. I talked about it in my last episode, but I'm not great at making hats that fit normal people or fit anyone really. The hat was humongous. It was like way bigger than the adult extra large. So I think I think I had made 2 issues. I think my gauge wasn't consistent or measured correctly, and also I shouldn't have made an extra large. I think at that point in time I didn't realize that hats are supposed to fit with a little bit of ease. I've heard like 10% is good, because otherwise they just sort of flop and might even fall off your head. So I gave it another go this year. It's good travel knitting because it's mostly just stockinette in the round, which is easy and I remember hearing on the Yarniacs podcast that Gail or Charlene had started like in the middle. They thought that the increases were too fiddly, and I do remember that from when I made mine. So what they did was, I think they started with a provisional cast on of like the head circumference stitches and just knit, and then they decreased to make, you know, the top of the head, and then they came back around to the provisionally cast on stitches and knit another like hat basically. So they, if this is where they provisionally cast on, they made this, and then they came back, unraveled the provisional cast on, and then knit this again. I thought that was a great idea, so that's what I tried this time. And so my first finished object I'm trying to get to is a modified Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague. It's modified because the stitch gauge that I wanted to knit the hat at was larger than any of the options given in the pattern. I mentioned that I knit my brother, I mentioned previously that I knit my brother a Flax sweater. This is the yarn that I knit, this is the yarn that I dyed for him to make that Flax sweater. I think it's also the Paton's classic worsted. It's either that or Knit Picks, well, the Endies. And it's dyed with blue food coloring and vinegar. So it's got this neat, and I dyed it, not necessarily like solar dyed, but I dyed it in like a cold fat. And so there are really neat like color variations through it. But there are blues, there are more purpler blues. I think in some areas it may go even a little bit greener, but it provides a really nice, subtly variegated look. So I had about 150 grams left over of this worsted weight yarn, so I figured it'd be good for a hat. Since I first cast it off, I actually had to unpick the bind off, the decreases in bind off to increase it a little bit more so that I can wear it with the brim cuffed. I think I might do that again. I have a little bit of yarn left. I don't think I brought it over with me, and I haven't weighed it yet, but I'm guessing it's about 10 grams maybe. And right now I can wear it, sorry if that messes with audio, right now I can wear it like snug against the top of my head with the brim cuffed, you know, an inch and a half. But I would love for it to be a little bit longer, either so I can, you know, make it not so watch cappy and snug against the top of my head, or so that I could fold the brim up a little bit more. So, you know, we'll see. If I have any additional, I guess it doesn't even take that long. I unpicked it and redid the decreases and bind off last time in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, about 2 hours. The time it took to fly from London to Berlin. So yeah. And speaking of London to Berlin, shout out to the very nice man sitting next to me who asked me about my knitting. He was very nice, very, very nice. And yeah, so this is my maybe half-finished Musselburgh hat. Ysolda Teague. I knit it at a larger gauge, more close to the Flax actually. So yeah, all right. That's my only finished object, and it's only half finished, so I don't even know if it should go in that section. So we'll move into works in progress. I have a very similar work in progress as the last thing I showed. This is going to be another Musselburgh hat. It is based on what I've learned making the, finished or not finished Musselburgh. I'm making this a little bit longer, and this I'm actually doing a little bit differently. This actually started a little bit differently. So for the blue one I mentioned, I used a provisional cast on. Well, I forgot to bring the crochet hook with me and was not going to buy a new one. So I figured I could just cast on with like a long tail cast on and then pick up the stitches later. This is 100 grams of yarn so far, and it is I bought this while I was on my trip, so I'll talk about it a little bit more during the acquisition section. But it's concept by Katia, Cotton Merino. This is a 70% cotton, 30% virgin wool blend. I don't even know if blend is the right word. It's a blown yarn, I think. So I think the 70% cotton is the cotton tube, and the wool is like blown through the tube. So it ends up being like a really lightweight and fluffy and soft yarn. I'll talk about it a little bit more later. But I used 100 grams. They come in 50-gram cakes, 50-gram balls, donuts. I used 100 grams to make this so far, and now I am decreasing for the crown. When I finish decreasing for the crown, I'll go back here, pick up stitches, and decrease for the crown. So I think this is, well, I only bought 150 grams of yarn, so I have to be at least 2/3 of the way through. I think I'm pretty close to finishing. So yeah, so this is my other work in progress. I bought the yarn and cast it on after I finished the blue one, but I'll talk about that in acquisitions. One last thing. For the decreases, I am following them basically exactly as the pattern recommends. So instead of doing increasing at the beginning and decreasing at the end, I'm basically doing decreasing on both ends. Starting in the middle and then decreasing on both ends, working it out. A couple of other works in progress. You have seen some of them before, so I won't talk about them too much. I'll talk about the ones that I've actually made progress on. This is the first completed Festive Mitten knit along, mystery knit along, mitt from Skeindeer knits. So I think last time I recorded, she had just like 30 minutes prior maybe released the last clue, which was for the thumb. So I have one thumb complete. I love it. It's great. I'm so happy it's done. So I just have one more thumb to do. I think I recorded the video last time, and then I really did not have a lot of time at home, and I didn't want to bring a half-finished project or a mostly finished project with me on the trip, especially since I didn't want to lose these mitts, since they're my first sort of like Nordic style, Selbu style mitt. I didn't want to lose them. And Europe, like, we went to London, Berlin, Frankfurt, Brussels. None of them were very cold. Right before we left, most of the United States was going through like a Arctic freeze, bomb cyclone kind of thing. So it was frigid here. It was like 7 degrees, single digits Fahrenheit. And everywhere we went, it was, like 40s, 50s Fahrenheit, which was very, very nice and temperate. And we didn't freeze, which was really, really nice. so it wasn't cold enough to need these on the trip. So I didn't make a huge rush to finish them, but now that I'm looking at them, while this video is like rendering or uploading to YouTube, I might as well finish this. So this will be done next time I record. This is the Festive Mitten Mystery Knit Along by Skeindeer Knits, made in Ramophenol yarn. Okay, and for both yarns, I have quite a bit left. Again, I have not weighed these. I have a scale, I should weigh them. And so if I have half of it still remaining, which I am not super sure about, maybe I can make another pair of mittens. Otherwise, I would also be fine with making mittens that are not so long down the cuff. So things to think about for the future. Okay, and then my last work in progress that I will share has received 0 progress, so I'm going to talk about it very quickly, which I'm not very good at. It is the Rift Tee by Cieslak. It is made out of a local to me yarn, and I just need to finish I need to finish the sleeve ribbing on this sleeve here, and then I need to make a decision on whether or not I'm going to elongate the body as well. We will see. We will see. I don't mind, except for the fact that I don't want to do that much Kitchener stitch to put it together, which I guess is the main hurdle for anyone. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Spinning. I don't think I've made spinning progress. I haven't been home. I do think I need to get a new motor for my electric eel wheel 6. I read the FAQ page and also contacted the owner, then designer of the electric eel wheel. And we think that it needs a new motor, which is unfortunate, but I think it'll make my spinning a little bit more enjoyable. Right now the motor sort of comes and goes. It will spin at variable speeds, so getting a new motor should help with that. And next we talk about acquisitions, I guess. So we'll start with the one that I already started talking about. It's this, I lost it. Okay, I don't know where the label I just showed you was, but I went back into my collection of other labels and grabbed a different one. So this is Concept by Katia, cotton merino. It's made from extra fine merino according to the label. The gray is, just make sure I'm not tearing a bunch of stitches out. Oh boy. This gray color is color 106. It's designed by Katia, made in Italy, and lists a Spanish Barcelona address. This yarn is, like I said earlier, it's 70% cotton, 30% virgin wool. They sell it in these 50-gram donuts, which are 115 yards. The recommended needle size is US 7 to 8, getting you approximately 16 stitches, 23 rows in a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter square. Hand wash, no machine dry, don't machine dry it. Oh, I put my glasses on, sorry. Sorry, I forgot I was wearing my glasses. If it says US 7 to 8, in my mind that's like pretty similar to a worsted weight yarn, and getting 105 meters or 115 yards seems pretty fair. So it's a little bit airy, I think because of the blown nature of the yarn, rather than being applied yarn. I got this at a yarn store in Potsdam in Germany, called Tolle Wool. It's in central Potsdam, near the central station, near the central city area where there's like shopping and stuff like that. Potsdam is a really nice day trip from Berlin, we found. And we went to Potsdam to go see the Sanssouci Palace and Sanssouci Park. Yeah, getting to Potsdam was great from Berlin. If you get the Berlin ABC like metro pass or metro ticket, you can get to you can take a direct S-Bahn overground train to Potsdam in, I mean, it depends on where you get on, between like up to 30 and 40 minutes. Very easy. So yeah, we had a group of 5. So we, when we were in Berlin, got the 5-person 24-hour ticket. It's between like 20 and 26 euro for 5 people to take the public transportation in your like fare zone for 24 hours. So that was like a great deal for us. Also, I was traveling with just a carry-on backpack. Like I have a big, or a rather large backpack that's carry-on size. Because I was sort of space constrained, I wasn't gonna bring, I think some people say like bring 1 project per day or something like that, and I couldn't do that. So this worked well for me. I finished the hat that I brought, was able to wear it on my head, and then bought yarn for a new one. So yeah, I'm really excited to use this. It's been really soft, it's been really nice. So yeah, big fan. Went on a tangent, of course. And then, sorry, I have a little list of things next to me. My next acquisition is also from the trip. Apologies if there's plastic bag crinkling noise. I mentioned I went to London for a little bit, and London, or the UK, is home to John Arbon Textiles Mill. I've heard like such fantastic things about their yarn and their top, so I wanted to buy some for my own. So I bought 700 grams in total. I bought just 100 grams of this Devonia top. So Devonia is 50% Exmoor Blueface, 30% Blueface Leicester, and 20% Wensleydale. This is the color Sage Sprig, and it's variegated with foresty greens, slightly lighter greens, some browns, some really dark greens, so the whole green spectrum plus some browns, and some paler like whites. So I am excited to spin this up. This is just 100 grams, so sorry for the crinkles. That was just 100 grams, so I'll probably spin it up and then make maybe an accessory or something like that. And then the behemoth that I bought from John Arbon is this 600 grams of Appledore top. Appledore is 40% Devon Close Wool, 40% Romney, and 20% Exmoor Blueface in the color Sheep's Nose. So this is mostly a white base with browns and blues mixed in. I wasn't particularly smitten with the color of the top originally. I bought this all online, but I saw the color of the Appledore like yarn in this color and fell in love. So I bought 600 grams, and that'll be enough for me to make a sweater. To spin in, it's enough sweater quantity to spin into a sweater's quantity of yarn and then make an actual sweater. So I'm very excited about this. These were quite inexpensive in my opinion. So the Appledore, the big 600 grams I bought, in total was 39 pounds. So that's a little bit more than $40 US. And then the Devonia, the green variegated, that I bought 100 grams of, came out to 650 pounds. So not too bad, I think. I spent a total of 45 pounds. And yeah. So one thing I learned on this trip, or I guess prior to this trip, is that there's a service called Poste Restante, I think it's called. And that's essentially a service that a lot of post offices have that will hold mail for travelers. So one of the post offices in London that was really close to a hotel I was staying at had this service, so I just had to like address, I purchased the top from John Arbon, and then put in an address that I got from the UK post office website. You just have to format it a certain way and they'll hold on to it for you. So a lot of countries have this. I guess it makes sense because somehow people like backpackers or people who don't have like a steady home base, they need to get mail somehow. So that way they'll have mail waiting for them. So that was really convenient. It was a free service. One of the other things I bought from the UK was held, but it wasn't held long enough for me to pick it up, unfortunately. So I'm working with them to figure out if I apologize to them for the extra hassle this created, but I'm seeing if they'll be able to ship it to the US for me. So hopefully that's a next acquisition, but I'll update you more when I get that. Going back to John Arvin, they were very, very nice. They sent me, in addition, a very nice postcard with a picture of some of the milling equipment, which I think is very, very cool. A quarter card, like in college we call these quarter cards, about their mill open house weekend, which is in June. Fortunately, I will probably not be in the UK in June, but that's very cool. And then also a neat like infographic, which is very cool. Next, what I would probably normally talk about are what's next on my needles. Like you sort of saw, I have a couple of things that are almost done, so this is exciting for me. Maybe I'll go back. What I need to do is finish that sock that I showed in my first episode that is still in the same state that it was then. I did find the extra like 50 grams of yarn that I need to break into to finish that sock, so that's good progress. Hopefully I'll have started on that next time I record. But for new real projects, yesterday I took a look at my Ravelry queue. There is a sweater on there that I've wanted to knit for a little bit called Saga, which is by the designer Wenche Roald. I'll link it in the description box. It's an all-over colorwork cardigan where the model is standing next to a horse, so it's very striking and very, very memorable in that way. I would love to work on that, and I would love to cast that on because it's a beautiful sweater. We'll see if I have the yarn for that. And the other thing that would be nice to cast on is a Felix pullover. There's a Felix pullover and a cardigan by Amy Christoffers. I made the Felix pullover in 2022. Maybe next episode I could put it on and show it to you guys. I made it out of Let Be, and it's just such a nice, like, it's a pretty easy knit. It's knit at a very, very loose gauge, so it's quick and nice to do. The Felix pullover that I've already made, I speed knit in a week, so worked a lot on it on the weekends and then after work, and finished it in a week, which was really cool. I don't think I'll probably speed knit in my next one, but I am comforted by the fact that it shouldn't take me too long to finish it, which would be nice. I'll close off today with a quick little tip. The tip is something that I've been trying to work on, not just in knitting, but just generally for myself over the last few years, and that's just to know yourself. So for example, that's knowing, are you a processor, are you a product knitter? That means do you just like to knit, or you knit so that you can have a finished object? In my opinion, I think I'm somewhere in between. A lot of times I'll see patterns on like Ravelry that I'm like, oh, I have to knit that. An example of that is the Saga cardigan with the horse in the picture. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to have that. But then also, like I mentioned before in previous episodes, I really just like knitting stockinette in the round. I think it provides a lot of like calm and order, and helps me channel like fidgeting into something productive. So that's sort of, you know, why I like working on those modified muscle rows on vacation. Another thing that's good to know about yourself is, you know, do you want this hobby, if you're knitting as a hobby, do you want it to be really structured, with, you know, intentions? People are making New Year's resolutions right now. Or do you want to take it more like, just like go with the flow? I think I'm trying to you know, develop my skills in being a little bit more intentional. So some things that I'm doing this year are continuing to try to not buy yarn. The exceptions that I'm giving myself are if it's yarn that is for some reason really special or that I'm traveling to get. I really am trying to knit my stash down. I think I did that for 2022 and had a good time. I'm enjoying seeing that my yarn more comfortably fits into the baskets in my like grid bookshelf organizer. So that's really, really nice. I have some yarn that is overflowing into another bookshelf. So if by the end of the year I can consolidate all of that yarn into one bookshelf, that would be fantastic. Also, hopefully I can be a little bit better at planning when I want to knit. Since I am not introducing new yarn into my stash, hopefully that means, you know, I have a fixed amount of yarn that I can use to make projects, so that hopefully also means that I'll be able to plan what I will make better, instead of just seeing whatever's newest and shiniest and prettiest. So that's a really long-winded tip, but it's basically know yourself. All right, so I've been recording for a little bit now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, you know, please leave a comment. I'd love to chat with you. I'll also leave my Instagram, and I don't really use a lot of Instagram, but I'll leave my Instagram and my Ravelry down below so we can connect. If you want to keep watching, you can subscribe. I'm trying to put episodes out every 2 weeks, and now that I'm home with all of my yarn around me, hopefully I'll get some more time to work on projects. All right, Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time. Bye.